What are you talking about? I'm going
to
to Atlanta in a few months.
And have you watched the show to study up on?
I'm scared.
You should say hi.
No, I'm scared. Welcome to Talkin Athletics with MTJ. I'm your host, Mike Papa, joined by Joe and Tom, 2/3 of the illustrious trio that makes up MTJ. We're just three guys that love to talk about sports. We claim to know a lot, often more than each other, and sometimes more than you. But if you claim to know more than us, then get in the comments and let us know everything that we're wrong about, because I'm going to be honest, it happens often. But we do our best, and we have fun doing it. So thanks for joining us on another episode of Talkin Athletics. We're going to get right into it. We're going to take a pit stop in the NBA before we get to our final destination, that is the NFL free agency. Today, or I think it was late last week, an injury to, was it Donovan Mitchell, correct?
Yep,
yes, Donovan Mitchell made it so he will not make the threshold in games played that is 65
To be eligible.
meaning he will not be eligible for the all NBA teams or any other post or regular season awards as an individual. The reason I threw this on here is because he's having a great year. He's averaging 28, 6, and 5 on one of the best teams in the East, that is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yep.
It sucks because this is a really good rule, and it's worked pretty well so far of getting the people who are either quote-unquote chronically hurt or quote-unquote constantly resting. It gets them on the court. But this is kind of one of the strays, in my opinion, that we see. Donovan Mitchell, this is the first time in his career he's going to play below 65 years.
Right.
He's never been a guy to super take a lot of rest time. When he misses his time, it's normally to injury.
I was just saying, yeah, do we know, like, that's what I was trying to look up real quick, and I couldn't find, believe it or not, they don't keep track of how many games off that you just took off, like healthy games off. Like,
well, they don't want people to know that.
I just would be curious to know how many.
Like through his whole career, you said?
No, just this year.
Just
because, like, this is the year that it's applying, and like Mikey said, like, he's not a guy who has the track record for doing it.
Right.
But this is not reaction, but it's an afterthought of the rule to try to get players to play in games instead of just taking all of these, rest games through a long NBA season. I really, not knowing that stat, that was just the one question that I would have as, an NBA outsider, is how many games did he take off when he was healthy? Like, if he played those 3 games, say it was 3, would he have qualified? I don't know how close he is, but I think the rule will be examined. I think it'll be.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a little more lenient.
Yeah, I think this was a good starting point,
yeah.
And I think they're going to make some adjustments. They have to.
We've been talking about it throughout the whole year, I feel like, because Joel was the first guy that really had it come up where guys were saying, hey, he is way too hurt to be playing, but he is playing because
win MVP.
Well, he's playing for the incentives of winning all of these awards and playing for money. That's what he's doing. That's what he's playing for money.
Incentives in your contract. Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be different.
I think I don't know how many he's rested, but I would imagine it's not a lot, just because
he doesn't have the track record for it.
Right.
Well, that, and they are one of the East's best teams, but they've been dealing with injuries to their players the whole season, so I don't think they could have afforded to let him rest and still have the record they did. But I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of Cavs games. But I do think it's something that has to be addressed and kind of reworked a little bit, or I don't know what you would do in the situation. Maybe kind of have a clause for injuries or repeat injuries.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I was sitting at my desk at work really when this topic was put on the list, and I kind of thought to myself, I was like, it's a good starting point, like we've already discussed about 65 games you need to play. I was like, but for all the awards, I kind of thought to myself, I was like, maybe it should be more like, hey, you have to play at least 65 to make MVP, and then like all NBA first team, and then the rest kind of have like a lower threshold, if a threshold at all.
Yeah,
because
I think that's fair.
I think that's the thing. I feel like if all suddenly we have a lower threshold, because there's always been that complaint where it's like, well, if a person missed like 5 games, let's say like Joel Embiid missed 5 extra games. Obviously, it's been way more than that, but injured. But just in this example, he got missed 5 extra games more than Jokic, and it's just like, well, okay, but in those 5 games Jokic played in, they won 2 and lost 3, but then the 76ers lost all 5 that Joel Embiid didn't play, and it kind of shows you just how important. I've kind of said that in the past. I'm a big component that if you really see the effect and see how important people are when they're injured and not on the floor.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there, but I liked where you're going with the first half of that. Like, I don't think you need to look at the aftermath of the roster, but I do like the idea of saying, okay, hey, this is the MVP award.
Right.
This threshold should be different than, first team All NBA
like
or first team defense, or like best defender. So I like the idea of mixing up the thresholds.
Right.
Because then, it does allow the players to say, okay, hey,
I'm taking myself out of the MVP.
but I can still make some money for
Like
being first team All NBA or whatever,
third.
Like, so you could have different thresholds
exactly. Maybe
for
a little
each one there.
increments.
I like that idea of it.
That's also not as impressive, so I don't think you should require the same thing.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure you're not getting paid as much either on your incentive and
like
your
the third,
contract
the second,
for
the
it.
first.
Yeah,
is
like
that what you're saying?
It shouldn't be the same stipulations for the All NBA third team and MVP. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
No, and that's why I'm saying right now it is.
I'm agreeing with you.
So the only thing I did look it up was like Rookie of the Year and like either most. No, it was 6. No, it was like Rookie of the Year, 6th Man of the Year, and like Most Improved didn't have those like thresholds. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or 2 out of those 3, because again, with Most Improved, you just never know like who's gonna randomly become like super great. Like randomly
Rookie of the
catch
Year's
fire.
another one too, where it's like,
If you don't have any playing time, how can you say like,
exactly. If this guy just starts getting playing time halfway through the year because he's just starting to show the growth that his coach wants him to show, and then he starts lighting it up because he can just play underneath the lights.
Like I said, I know 2 out of the 3 are
Rookie
like,
of the Year. I could agree with that. I don't really know if there should be. I mean, there should be some sort of games played, in my opinion.
I also think 6th Man of the Year should have less.
Like, you should at least play a quarter of the season if you're going to be in that. Like, there should be some stipulation, but I don't think it's necessary to, because that's something that I think the voters, it's not the writers who decides any of the NBA awards.
I'm pretty sure it's writers.
Yeah,
Is it writers?
So media,
the media I think would take into account. Oh, hey, this guy played a quarter of the season,
and that's
versus
why a lot
guy
of the
that
media
played
was complaining
3/4
about
of the
this rule
season.
because they were already kind of taking in consideration how many games people missed.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I just feel bad for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, to think like he had such a great year and all of a sudden like, people are going to look back through the NBA record books and be like, oh, hey, wow, Donovan Mitchell, like, what happened to him? It looks like he had a great year. Oh, he didn't play 65 games. It's kind of like a silly thing.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day,
it's like, he played 64 games. Wow, look at these numbers. Whoa.
That's right. I don't think the rule is there to take away the prestige or the honor from a guy like this situation. It's there to protect us, the people that could be
the
potentially
viewers.
buying fan, the fan that could potentially be buying a ticket, showing up, and then finding out, LeBron, like all of the big three aren't starting, and I bought a Heat ticket. Like, I think that happened one game when the big 3 were in Miami. I think they all sat out.
That happened
a game.
to me when I went to see the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing, right? Like, and there's nothing you could do to control it. And you probably, being a Warriors fan, understand like, I'd rather than be rested and healthy.
Yeah,
than
like
me see
I
them,
was bummed, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever have another opportunity to see him. Like, if I was like a 12, 13-year-old kid, I'd probably be really upset about it, but. Yeah, so I get that. Also, like, a lot of people aren't, like, talking about how we haven't heard about any complaints about resting this year. Like, that's not been anywhere on Twitter, and that's, like, Twitter is a prime location for
when
that
was
stuff
the
to
last
come
time
out.
you've seen guys play through injuries like this in the NBA?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people got to remember that.
Agreed. Oops. Like, I feel like it's taken
this.
us back into, like, late 90s, late 90s to the...
You could even
early
say
90s, 80s,
early
80s
2000s.
basketball.
you could even say the whole 2000s
That's
out,
true.
like, before 2010.
Because
honestly, nobody really complained about resting, I would say, until the big 3 formed in Miami because they could afford to rest.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because their team was so good.
Yeah. When you're not good enough to break the all-time wins record or like the record that Bulls
season?
team or that set that record. But
Warriors broke it eventually.
They were good. That's what I'm saying. Miami wasn't. So they were like, why chase that? Let's just, sit him for 15, 20 games.
That's the thing.
And still win half those games.
They probably could. Yeah, they probably could have broken that record if they really wanted
That's
to.
what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
think
They
they
just
cared.
didn't. They just didn't. Then
They're like, let's just be healthy so we can win a
we're in
championship.
Miami. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys really noticed before, but Josh Hart is like probably one of the best rebounders in the world right now.
Which is crazy because he's a guard.
That's just wild to think about. Like, he's probably what, Joe's height? Not even.
No, a couple inches taller than Joe.
I would say, yeah,
He's like
6'4".
6'2", probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's crazy. He never had a triple double in his entire career, and he's been on some teams. He's kind of been a little traveling man, a little renaissance or not trailblazer. No, something like that.
I know what you're thinking.
You guys know
Renaissance.
what I'm
Not Renaissance. Man, I thought
Traveling
Renaissance
man.
Ram was right.
Vagabond.
Sure.
Vagabond
I mean,
Sure.
maybe we'll go with that. He's been a traveling man.
He's well traveled, basically.
Well, yeah.
it's the word that they used to describe
A journeyman. but
Ryan.
he's-
Journeyman,
there it is,
journeyman, that's
Ryan
what I'm looking
Fitzpatrick.
for.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ryan
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick was the.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of a journeyman, but he's been with New York the last 2 seasons, and he's been playing okay, but never had a triple double. But since January 1st of this calendar year, he's had 4, 2 of them in this month, and the last 2 were really impressive, 19 boards. It's really cool to see. It's just like there's not really a lot to talk about it. He's been having a great year.
Just want to give
Is
him
it
his
a
flowers.
Is it a contract year for him?
I don't know. I think like every year the last 5 years has been,
It's been a contract year
for
for
him.
him.
So,
Yeah.
but I
I'm
mean,
not sure.
I think he's really unlocked the system. He's like, if I just hang out near the key,
Yeah, right?
my guy's not coming in for the rebound. I can
No, 'cause
just
he's gotta get
I can
back,
just
yeah.
cherry pick
Yeah.
whoever's getting that rebound and cut him off last second. I'm faster than all of them. This is stat patent to its max. I love it. Good
Whatever
for you,
is,
Josh.
like-
Which helps with his contract.
Oh, 100%.
whatever
Oh, that's what I'm
his
saying. He's
system
going to get
is-
paid.
Whatever his system is, you're right. He figured it out because he's been averaging just.
Analytics
I think
love
it's either
it.
just under or just over 8 boards a game. And yeah, if you're a 6'4" guard and you can give a team about 8 rebounds
Like,
a game,
Just under 8. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, are
everybody
his
will love
teammates
you.
helping? Is it like the Russ? Is it like the Russ
Is it
situation where I
7.9?
watched Steven Adams like box people out and not go after the ball so Russ could get rebounds?
You
Like,
know,
is it
I'm
kind of like
happy
that?
you noticed that because I had noticed that too. That happened a lot.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
the time. I don't know. I definitely think they probably are struggling from rebounding because if you're 6'4" and you can. It doesn't
You
matter.
can't get
It doesn't
19.
matter how bad the other team is at rebounding. If you can consistently get 8 and then in 2 games in 2 weeks get 19, then your team's got to be struggling.
Stupid.
That was incredible. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, like you said, I just kind of wanted to give him his flowers. Really.
Josh Hart, hopefully you watch this
Oh,
show.
yeah.
Huge
Friend of the
fan.
show.
No, you told
Acknowledge
me
you.
last week. Huge
Yeah.
fan. Huge
Friend of
fan.
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Derrick Henry, another friend of the show.
Derrick Henry. So
I-
football.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because Tom specifically is a betting man, and I wanted to get your opinion.
betting.
Ooh,
But
you have my interest,
you know,
sir.
Derrick Henry signs a 2-year, $16 million with the Ravens. My knee-jerk reaction to it was, this is a match made in heaven. This is
Yeah.
the best running back in the league. I debatably even still at 28 years old, going to, one can argue, not the best
Thought he was, like,
running team in the
31.
world, but the biggest run-centric team in the world, where people have argued
Yes.
that their biggest issue is not having a running back. So I expected that this was going to be like a really dope thing. And Vegas did not, because before getting him, their odds of winning the Pro Football title was 9-1. Their chances of winning the conference was at plus 450, and the division was plus 110 after acquiring the league's best running back. Those odds and chances have changed none, which I thought was kind of weird.
Just a slight correction.
Yeah, I
Derrick
mean-
Henry is 30 and is turning 31, not 28.
Oh, I thought he was running. Yeah, thank you.
I think
Appreciate
you also
that.
got
And
to
I
look
think
around,
that's why
around
they
the
were
division
willing
too.
to let him go. Because
absolutely.
obviously, any running back that hits 30, with the exception of very few exceptions,
And they used and
flame
abused
out.
him too.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
He is an old 30.
For how
Yeah.
much abuse he has,
Yeah.
credit for him not getting really injured.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
But I mean,
For long
there has
stretches.
been some movement. I mean, on that end where they lost Patrick Queen
Yep.
to an in-division team, the Steelers. The Steelers have
Yep.
done a lot of movement, so there's a lot of recalculations on that end. But
We'll get into that.
you've got what the Browns also made a move or two.
Omar,
Yeah?
my man.
I don't know if the Browns.
yeah, they
didn't
got
make-
Jerry Judy.
Yeah, so I mean, the
And
Browns
they got
better.
Jameis Winston as a backup.
The Browns,
Which-
you know, so like there's
Interesting.
It is very
that
good.
would be my reasoning. Is not they're
Interesting,
not
yeah.
not giving Derrick Henry his props. Everybody else made moves too,
Right.
That I think when you look at that offensive scheme, Derrick Henry's very, very good. Do I expect him to be healthy? No, because every single running back in the Baltimore Ravens organization goes down at some point throughout the year. But will it help?
Poor JK.
Yeah, but
J.K.
is JK still there? They didn't cut anybody.
So.
They didn't cut a running back to the best of my knowledge.
Well, they let Gus Edwards walk.
JK is a free agent. I'll double check.
They let
Gus Edwards.
walk. I know that.
I hope somebody pays that man.
Yeah,
I would
he's
love
pretty
for him
good.
to be a Giant. We need a running back. Gus Edwards is a guy that third string every year and finds himself at being a starting running back at some point in that system.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins is a free agent, and I think
Okay,
Gus Edwards
so that's all
was
they
already
have?
signed.
Yeah, he signed
Where's he
somewhere.
at?
I'm looking for Gus Edwards right
He
now.
went somewhere. I know that.
That's sad.
I just wish I remember. Texans maybe? No.
That seems like a good fit.
Gus Edwards. Oh, the Chargers.
Chargers.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh gave him the call and said, "Hey, bud, I want you."
Look at Jimmy do it for you.
So that's where you've got one running back. I'm curious to see what that running back room looks like. Because I don't think their system doesn't allow. They run the ball, I feel like, more than anybody else in the league. That's just so dependent on the run.
That is true.
You
that's
need
not a
2 to
feeling.
3.
It's true.
You need 2 to
Facts.
3 guys in that room. Derrick Henry is a guy and a half. So you need another
is
guy
true.
and a half,
And then you'll have
or
Lamar
at least
running
another
as
dude.
well. Yeah.
Well, I think everybody right now, like we keep seeing as the time progresses that it's a 2 running back league now, and teams are wanting that. And the Ravens have shown that they're super reliant on their running backs.
I would argue 3.
Yeah,
because
you
I don't
could.
think you can depend on both running backs to stay healthy for an entire NFL season. I don't think any NFL team can depend on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Playing that position, I think you need 3 dependable guys, if not 4, because you're literally talking about a guy that's running as fast as he can at some of the scariest athletic human beings in pads on the face of the planet.
Some are trying
That
to
is a
actively hurt you.
Hard pass on that job interview.
Right, yeah.
What's the hazard pay looking like? Not a whole
Not
lot,
a lot
with
right
the
now.
contracts looking these days,
Well,
So
I'm sure they'll draft a couple people, I would imagine.
you would think, but
They do well.
I think there is.
They really
I think
do,
there
yeah.
is a
They
couple
draft
good
good
backs.
running backs.
I think there's a couple good backs in this draft.
I think there's a lot. I mean, like Frank Gore Jr. or the third or
Wow, what a
whichever.
name pull, dude! I didn't think you were. That is not. I have him in my top 5.
You can't not know Frank Gore.
I know, but that's where he.
Central Michigan, right?
No,
Dang, was
keep
that
going.
close?
No,
Was
yeah,
it
I mean,
C something?
you're close on the longitude, but not on the latitude.
Was it Central something though?
No,
It's like a mid-major type of school.
You're correct. Brett Favre played there.
Oh, that doesn't help me.
jeez.
Oh, that
You
should
should
help
know
you.
that.
That should help you. Come on, boys.
Give me a region.
Is
You want
it,
color scheme?
Yeah.
isn't it like red?
Region South.
Isn't it like Mississippi or something?
You're correct.
It's not Old Miss.
You're correct.
It's not Mississippi State.
You're correct.
Is it Mississippi? Just Mississippi?
I gave you most of it. With my one hint. Do you remember my hint?
No.
Longitude and latitude, you were saying?
I said that, but then I also
But
you
yeah,
said
now we're in the state, though.
then you said like region, and where did I say?
I don't remember.
Southern.
Oh, Southern.
Oh,
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
boys.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. I said South, I think. Southern Miss. Yeah, that
Man,
is
I
the
was all
answer.
over the place there.
Yeah, Southern Miss.
I think
But
I
that-
went to every other school there other than Southern Miss I just mentioned. Oh, that's sad.
Texas has another good running back that's out though. There's I think a handful of guys that are
Yeah.
really, really
And
good.
like I said, I think you can get a lot of these running backs, as we've seen in the market, late in these drafts. And I mean late as in like 4th round, 5th round, kind of like that mid-round.
Yeah. And the Ravens they do well drafting running backs historically the last I'd
And like
say
we
15,
said,
20
their
years.
system just pumps it out. I mean, J.K. Dobbins got hurt early last year, and they're just like, okay, Gus Edwards, it's your
Yes.
turn. Oh, Gus, you got injured. Okay, let's go grab like Le'Veon Bell randomly, or what's his name? Why can't I think of these play?
I don't remember all the running backs. they
Yeah,
had
because
last
they
year.
just pumped out like a ton. They just were like, yep, it's a system, and it works.
And you see a lot of teams doing that too. Like a lot of teams will pick someone up who will play like adequately well for a couple weeks until they don't need him anymore. But we can keep it in the AFC North. We might as well while we're here, while we're making our
Yeah.
trip
I
around
feel
the
like that's a
NFL.
Clearly,
good
we're going to
hop to
talk
make.
about the Bengals, right, and how they traded Joe Mixon to the Texans. That's obviously what we're going to talk
Yeah,
about.
I mean we can.
I mean, if we're going to talk about that trade, we'll also have to get to the rumored trade, if you guys have heard any of those that are out there in the whirlwinds. But let's head on that before we get into any
I
of the
just don't
rumors.
get why the Texans would have made the trade. Like,
especially when they announced that they were cutting him. So
Yeah,
like
I mean,
That's the only reason why I thought it was like impressive for the Bengals to cut a person and then
and it's like
I guess like they didn't want to get into a bidding war with other teams.
Right.
But
like,
your team is one of the most alluring teams in the league right now.
Yeah, a young quarterback,
You know
young wide receiving core.
Like that's what I thought too. I was like, maybe they were afraid they wouldn't get him, but like, there's not a lot of other teams that. I mean, you know what? You might be right. A team like the Chiefs they would swoop in and try to get him.
Do the Chiefs have room? Because they signed Malcolm
Hollywood Brown.
Jones. Yeah, Hollywood Brown.
They can make room.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
what's his 40?
Patrick
That's
Mahomes.
the question. What's the who can you beat in the 40 race?
Yeah, right.
I feel like that's how that team does cuts. Both them and Miami Dolphins. They just have the skill position players line up. Whoever's slowest, you're going home. Find the red tag in your locker at the end of the day.
Every single day, too.
Dude, wild.
Yeah, because Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract and it got them $25 million cap space, which I was just like, wow, what a guy.
But I mean,
we say what a guy. You just got it in the signing bonus.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like,
you mentioned
got
that is exactly
quicker.
what the rumor is out on the Bengals is that they're looking to restructure Joe Burrow's contract if they can negotiate a deal to put the old crew back together and bring Justin Jefferson.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow together again at the NFL level. That would just be nostalgic for any LSU fan. You are now a Cincinnati Bengal fan.
Oh, it's so
instantly,
many kids.
like you're just stealing a fan base, essentially.
Absolutely. And then you're not having to pay T. Higgins.
Yeah, no, you let T walk. Actually, I think T was supposed to be a part of that deal
that makes sense.
Like a trade.
Yeah, you'd have to give up a lot to get Justin Jefferson.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And restructure Burrow's deal. But that is all rumored. There's a lot that would need to happen for that to work. But man, would it be fun to see?
Yeah, it would be fun to see. The only thing is like, yeah, your quarterback and your wide receivers are really good, but your line is still one of the worst in the league. So
it has been for the last 5 years.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, I don't know. But I think it was kind of weird that the Texans didn't just did it, but I get that.
Hey, make it a guaranteed.
Yeah, and they didn't give up a ton for him, so whatever at the end of the day.
Well, because the Bengals were just going to take whatever. They were just like, we were cutting him, so sure, here, throw a 6th-round pick or a 7th. I don't care. Perfect.
We might as well keep rounding out the division and head on the Steelers at this point.
Yeah, might as well.
And just really round us out here because I don't think we have too much to talk about with the Browns. So
right, but I tell you what, the Steelers, I love the moves they have been doing. Obviously, Mikey, you're our resident Steeler, and I think this is a point where you can be biased because as an outside non-Steeler fan, I love what they are doing. All of it looks great.
Yeah, I want to hear what your thoughts are on everything shaking down. So at first you got to sign Russ.
Yep.
Walk me through that. Your feelings on Russ. You haven't made any other moves of getting rid of anybody. You're just bringing Russ into the organization. Thoughts?
So it wasn't a long-lasted thought because the wheels started spinning very quickly after getting Russ. But my original thought was, sweet. He was considered to have a down year last year in an organization that didn't want him and a game plan that didn't scheme for him.
And I would argue he still had a better year than some of his previous years, and things were still looking up.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if he didn't have a better year than his previous years, it doesn't matter because last year when he had considered by many a bad year, he also threw 2 times more than what Kenny Pickett's thrown in the last 2 years when it comes to touchdowns.
Okay.
Right.
I was very adamant at the beginning of last year. I didn't think Kenny Pickett was that guy, but I understood we had to write him out because we didn't have a chance in the draft. There wasn't a ton of free agents.
Okay, yeah.
So I was like, whatever. So going into this year, that was my mindset too. And then we get Russ, and my mindset becomes, okay, he's giving us more than what Kenny's giving, and we only have to pay him like $2 million. Upside, maybe deep playoff run. Downside, we made the playoff with Kenny Pickett. Maybe we can do it again. That was my immediate thought. I wasn't super pumped. I wasn't super sad. Like I keep saying, Kenny's not the guy. He's not a franchise guy. So I'm not going to get hung up on not having a franchise guy because everybody available right now wasn't. And at that moment, it was better. All we had was Kenny Pickett on the roster. We let Mason Rudolph go, deservingly so. He wasn't very good. We let Mitchell Trubisky go, deservingly so. Wasn't very good. All we had was Kenny. I was a little nervous because we didn't have any backups. Kenny's not good. Even if he doesn't get hurt, no upside to this locker room. We bring in Russ. Now we have possible upside. Basement level, still better than Kenny. Let's roll with it. And then...
then you got, Patrick Queen after that.
And then, we got Patrick Queen. I was really excited for because
Stealing it from a rival.
You're stealing from a rival. You're stealing a. Okay, so you're adding him into a linebacker group that is pretty good, but is lacking any impact on the inside. Alex Highsmith has gone consistently better statistically every year he's been in the league. TJ Watt's TJ Watt. I don't care what anybody says. He actually gets stats, and because of that, he should have been the Defensive Player of the Year last year. He just doesn't. He doesn't have to worry about the potential of getting stats because he gets stats in every category, better than everybody. But that's whatever. That's not the conversation we're having. So we've got great edge rushers. We lack run defense on the inside, and we struggle in the mid levels defending the pass. What helps with that? Inside linebacker. What also helps with that is you're getting an inside linebacker, yes, from a division rival, but you're getting an inside linebacker that's coming from a culture that breeds defense and breeds hard work and breeds execution, and you're implementing that. And by the way, he was a captain for that. You're implementing that into pretty much the exact same culture. The reason the rivalry between the Steelers and the Ravens is so respected by not only the players and their own fan base, but by the entire NFL's fan base is because they're so similar. Yes. They just go out there and they play football, they play hard, they play fast, they play aggressive, and they win. And that's historically what both defenses have done. So I really liked that addition as well.
Then was Deontay Johnson after that?
Yeah, I think adding Patrick Queen will help the defense a lot because the Steelers' defense was sneakily not very good last year. They were like second worst in rush defense, not very good in pass defense. We have a couple playmakers like Joey Porter Jr. had a couple big plays. Minka Fitzpatrick had a couple of big plays. TJ Watt won a couple games. We just had playmakers on defense that when it got into the red zone, they could flip the script really quickly, which isn't the best for a long term, which we saw against the Bills. We were in it the entire time against the Bills until the end because we couldn't make a play. And then Deontay Johnson gets traded for Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson, he's an okay corner.
I was going to say corner, but yeah. And like you said, though, we need help on pass defense.
Yeah, we're thin. We lost a cornerback, lost a safety, so we're thin on DBs right now, so we needed one. The reason why I was okay with not getting the best player in Dante Jackson is because equivalently, in comparison to what Deontay Johnson gave us, Deontay Johnson didn't give us a lot. There's a lot of people out there that think he's a pretty good wide receiver, and he's okay. I don't get it wrong, but I can run you through his career in the Steelers in 15 seconds. Not very good. Got called out for dropping everything, put under a microscope, had a pretty good year while he was under that microscope, then didn't score a touchdown for 400 days. So if you think he's good, you can have him. But at least we're getting a culture player from Dante Jackson, who was a captain on the Panthers defense.
Captains all over the place.
Exactly. So yeah, we're getting a little bit of culture. The wide receiving room doesn't have very good culture. Deontay Johnson didn't add to that culture, didn't provide very well on the field, and would openly not celebrate with his teammates when they scored. Don't want that in the locker room. All right, let's get rid of him. So I was cool with that as well. And then Justin Fields.
That was out of nowhere.
So who's your starter?
Russ.
Right now it is Russ.
They immediately said Russ was going to be the starter. So we get Justin Fields. And I think even if you don't think he's a very good quarterback,
he's still young.
He's the best backup in the league right now.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
There's way more upside with Fields than there is.
Oh, Russ. I totally agree.
Way more upside.
The reason I'm cool with how they did it, why they came out. Okay, so when we got Fields, my very first thought was I don't want to get into a quarterback competition because that can really negatively impact not only the team but both quarterbacks long term, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If they feel like they have no job security at all, they make a lot of really poor decisions, get scared, can't get nervous at all, kind of thing. But I think what Mike Tomlin's mindset is if looking at Russell Wilson and looking at Justin Fields right now, Justin Fields, his best trait is his upside. He is candy. That's all he is right now. That's all he's proven to be. Is just good, something that looks really good and can be really good. At least Russ has proven he's good. So throw the guy with more experience out there. Hopefully, he can help refine
and
mentor Justin Fields, because even though Russ is extremely corny, he does seem like the guy who wants everybody around him to be better. So I do think that is some upside as well. And if Russ doesn't do good and halfway through the season he's not that guy, okay, throw Justin Fields in there. But no matter what, we had a rotating door of quarterbacks last year, and that rotating door's level of ability was so vastly lower than this one is.
Oh,
you know
agreed.
What I mean?
Agreed. No, just like Joe said, I would be on the side saying that every move that you guys made, I would say is doing nothing but bettering the organization.
Yeah. And the Steelers, Omar Khan has been in office for 22 months. I swear, like, I know this probably isn't right and it's probably exaggerating, but he's made more moves in the last 22 months than I've ever seen any Steeler GM make collectively as a whole group. We do not make very big splashes in free agency. We do not make a lot of trades. We draft and we build and we somehow win, but that has not been working in the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm really excited that Omar Khan was at least willing to come in and shock the system and try to make it better, because if it doesn't work, we're going to be in the same boat we've been in the last 8 or 9 years. So, oh well, but at least he tried. So I loved seeing that.
Going down swinging at the very least.
Yeah, Colbert, when he wouldn't fight. He would not try to make things better. He would draft, and if it didn't work, he would try to draft a replacement. And that just isn't working. So I'm excited for it. I don't know if it'll work. I think right now we have the potential to be a on-the-fence playoff team with the upside of making a deep playoff run. And only one team can win every year, and I'm okay with making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, and obviously we still got the draft coming up, so...
Yeah. We still got the 20th pick in, like, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 7th, I think. 4th and 7th.
So, again, you've improved your team vastly, and like you said, your team has usually been a very good draft and developed team, so...
And we got everybody for pennies on the dollar, dude.
Yeah, no, everybody was dirt cheap for the most part.
Like
actually, I think you signed Queen for a good deal, but that I still think was worth it in the long run. It wasn't overpayment.
And he is...
He's different.
I think, I was going to say, even
he's by far the best player that you guys have signed. Like, I would put him... I would say he will be by far more impactful.
I think even downside, he is a competent middle linebacker who can fit the biggest hole we needed fit. You know what I mean? Like, he's competent. Even on the downside, even if he has a rough year, he's still above average. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
So I liked it a lot. This is a lot of movement. I've never seen the Steelers make this much movement, and it's really exciting. But my expectations haven't increased at all. So I'm just fair. Like, this team could be good, but they also might not. And also, you know what?
And thus the Vegas odds not moving a whole lot.
Yeah, right. And a lot of people give me flack for not being like as super passionate, but guess what? I was very happy with last season. You know, wasn't very happy with last season. All the people that were trying to say the Steelers were going to win the Super Bowl, they're the ones who hated last year. Last year was a lot better than I expected it was going to go.
Is the fan base turning on itself? Is that what we're seeing?
No, that's just that you just see that in every fan base.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
That's
just the rise of social media.
No, that's just every hardcore fan thinks that their team is and has a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you know what? I'd rather have a vast majority of Steeler fans think we're going to win the Super Bowl than everybody hate the organization. So it's a good thing to complain about.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's a good problem to have because it means that your team's just always been good. And I'm not saying that to sound condescending because, like I said...
Well, when you haven't been under 500 in the past however many years...
And this is some of the worst years we've ever had, too. That's the sad thing.
And we've seen how many of these past years, over 500 gets you into the playoffs 9 times out of 10, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, the last two Super Bowls...
And once you're there, anything can happen.
I think it was, one of the last Super Bowl that they won. They were the wild card.
Yeah.
So, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Upside...
in it to win it.
Upside could be really good. Downside could be the same as what I'm expecting. We still got holes at wide receivers. Wide receiver we got to fill. We don't really have a lot. And honestly, I love George Pickens, but I do think he's a little overrated.
I know who they're drafting at the 20th pick, wide receiver.
I just don't. That was a big nerve that I have with Russell Wilson. I don't see Russell Wilson and George Pickens getting along well at all. So I think that'll be a problem. But
they seem like polar opposite people.
And that's where it's so hard to see. Like, you hear all of these stories that come out behind the scenes from players that have retired, and they heard from a guy that played with a guy.
Yeah.
And you hear all these corny things about Russ. So I don't. That's where we'll see how the Russ system works in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But
that's just one that I don't see getting along well is him and Pickens. But
it's not
then
working.
again,
You got Fields.
I don't see Pickens being a whole lot different than DK, and they made that work for a good long while. So
yeah, and also what I will say is I think I'm not comparing them as people, but their play styles are similar, even though
Pickens and DK?
they have different outcomes. No, I think
I was just looking after the fact when they get mad, they throw little fits.
Not even talking about them. I'm talking about I think Russ's play style is very similar to Ben's, but Ben's relies more on physicality and his relies more on elusiveness. But I think they both like to extend plays and extend the pocket, scramble to look for a pass before they get rid of it. You know what I mean? So I think it could be a good fit. And I mean, George Pickens' biggest asset is his ability to catch the ball when he's not supposed to be able to catch the ball. Agreed. And so breakdown plays are great for that. So if you have a guy who can extend that play, and then you have a guy who can reel in the hard ones, then that could be good. The only thing is that you don't want your offense to rely on plays like that.
I feel like George won't be extending plays after he hasn't gotten thrown to for the first quarter and a half. Like he just will be giving up and throwing his little fit.
I agree with that completely.
It's going to be a we'll see moment for the whole thing when you've got pretty much an overhaul that's happening on your offensive skill set side. We'll see what's going to happen here with the Steelers. I do think that you guys are going to be in way better shape than last year.
I hope so. Because it's still a rebuild, still building, but I think it's a step up. We still need a quarterback, but I mean, let's be honest. Every single year, 70% of the league needs a quarterback until you find one.
It's just cool to see an organization that doesn't wait for everything to be crumbling apart all around them before they start to fix stuff. That must be nice to be a fan of an organization like that. Must be fun.
Yeah. When we fired Matt Canada, I texted my brother. I go, we could lose every single game for the next 10 years, but I love this. And I just like I said, like you said. And in the beginning I brought to, this is the most change I've seen, and I love that we're trying. And you've said that we've been making a lot of big moves, but honestly, just free agency as a whole, it's just
huge.
This year has been a crazy year. We've seen retirements from big guys. We've seen trades. We've seen signings. We've seen extensions. We've seen restructures. It's just all over the place. Aaron Donald we can start with.
Oh, yeah. That was crazy.
It's
not crazy, I shouldn't say, but
10 years in the league.
It's not crazy, but it's really surprising. I mean, something I took away was I thought he still was the best D tackle in the league. And we've talked about it on the podcast before. When Fletcher retired, we said it was him and Aaron Donald and then everybody else.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We literally said that, yeah.
So I thought he was, he might not be in his prime, but he is in the prime of the league.
Yeah.
He's still in that upper echelon.
I would agree, but that's just where when you look at that position of you're in the middle of all of the big boys. You're not going around. You're not shooting too many gaps. You're usually having to bully your way through.
And he's
gaps.
getting double teamed.
That seems like a terrible job on Sundays. You know what I mean? Mid Sunday, and it's second quarter. You've got 2 more quarters to go, and you're just trying to bull rush people. That does not sound like the best time ever.
And there's like a 30% chance that not just the guy in front of you and not just the guy to his left, but also the guy to his right are gonna try to defend you.
Oh, dude. Yeah. And then there's a quarter of the time
with like 5 minutes left in the game, and you're like, golly, dude,
I gotta go through 4 different people.
Yeah.
Well, and they make it just tricky enough where sometimes they let you through just so somebody can be trap blocking you on the backside, or you get through and you're ready to pass rush, and there's a running back from full speed at your chest too. Like, I couldn't do that for a year, let alone 10. So God bless him and God bless his career because he did it at the highest of levels.
And another Hall of Famer.
Easily.
A lot of Hall of Famers retired
easily, without a doubt. And we have had a lot of Hall of Famers. And if I'm him, if I'm any of these guys like Jason Kelsey, retired for pretty much the same reason. I don't know what Fletcher Cox did, but if he retired for said reason. But I would much rather have people complain that I retired too early than complain that I waited too long. Like Brett Favre, like a lot of people, his legacy is tainted in a lot of people's eyes because of his inability to accept that he needed to retire. Now, he was pretty successful.
Minnesota Brett was nice.
Well, no, even
New York Brett was a little much.
Yeah, the Jets Brett was.
The first return was
okay.
The
AFC Championship game though, with the Jets.
No, they didn't even make the playoffs.
No, I don't think it was pretty.
Who am I thinking of?
The Vikings.
I was thinking of Mark Sanchez.
Sanchez.
But yeah, he did it with the Vikings.
Pre-butt fumble, Mark Sanchez was a good quarterback.
Because Brett Favre had to go through bounty
one play
gate
ruined
with
that man's career.
Saints. People were getting paid to literally take out. That's when he learned, like, I should retire. People are literally paying paying each other to kill me.
So I'd much rather, but
And I'm 60. It might happen.
Yeah.
and
if
now
I'm
he's
gonna
just
die,
stealing-
it's gonna
now
be
he's
in my
just stealing
Wranglers.
money. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Sorry, Brett, friend of the show. Didn't want to.
Was it like tax evasion or something like that? From
Alleged.
charitable
Alleged.
Alleged? Wasn't it proven? I'm pretty sure it was proven.
Hey,
at this point.
He's a friend of the show.
He's not guilty yet.
Listen,
He's a friend of the show. Alleged.
I thought he was guilty. I thought he
was
had to repay everything.
It was technically proven that Pat jumped in the water, but it's alleged. Okay? He didn't jump in the river. Friend of the show, man.
No.
You got to think about the guests.
No.
Yeah.
Screw Brett.
I'm sorry, Brett. I mean, I'm not.
You tried.
Unless
You
he
shouldn't have
gets-
stole the money, but I mean, I'm sorry. I tried to get you on the show.
No.
You can still be our friend. Not Tom's though. He doesn't want
Yeah,
to be
Tom
your friend.
doesn't want you.
Joe, I
I'm a
think
Levi's
would
guy.
love to
God.
be your friend.
I'm a Levi's guy. Your Wranglers.
Dang, man.
Yeah,
have to bleep
I
that
went
out.
right at
Dude,
his
the Wranglers
sponsors.
didn't deserve
I
that.
went right at his sponsors. I hit him where it hurts.
You have disdain for this man.
Well, dude, those lawyer fees are going to be a lot. You know, he's really dependent on Wrangler and that copper fit.
Dude, it gave you the 2007 NFC Championship game, and you thought you would love Brett Favre. Threw back-to-back picks.
Yeah, I mean,
One at the end of regulation and one at the beginning of overtime that led to you kicking a field goal, winning, and going to the
no,
Super
I love
Bowl.
Brett Favre as a player. I loved watching Brett Favre. Brett Favre just it
Doesn't
was a
seem
guy.
like the
Every
best
time he
person.
dropped back, you had no clue what was going to happen. He could throw it sidearm. He could throw it 50 yards down the field. He could throw it 50 yards out of bounds. You had no clue with
You could
Brett.
throw it behind him.
Yeah,
too.
you had zero idea, and it was the best.
Do little shovel passes.
Couple big trades too. We already talked about Deontay Johnson and Joe Mixon being traded, but Keenan Allen got traded as well. That's one that
To Chicago, yeah.
that was very surprising.
Yeah, I don't get that. I didn't
The
understand. that
Chargers,
trade.
I don't know what they're doing. really.
No, I getting him out of. He's older. You got to get something out of him because realistically, how many years does he have left?
Well, he requested a trade because I watched he got interviewed in Chicago about it. I think today, or yesterday, one of the two.
Ask him to take a pay
But
cut.
yeah, they asked him to take a pay cut, and he said, "No, I'm coming off the best year of my career. Like I'm not doing that." And
Yeah.
he was like, "You can trade me," and then they traded him.
That's fair.
What I think is honestly the biggest like perplexion, I should say, coming away from it for me is the Bears have drafted a lot of quarterbacks lately,
Yep.
and they've not really put in any effort to like give them anything of substance around them, except for like maybe one or two guys at a time. They are putting a ton of effort into restructuring their offense, and this is the only time they don't have a quarterback on their roster
Yeah.
right now. Like
Well,
they're
but
finally putting work into
They're
it.
going to get Caleb
Well,
Williams.
yeah, but it's just kind of funny. Like
And it's
it took you 3 quarterbacks to figure out that you got to give them people.
Well, I don't know if it's that. I think it's that the Chicago front office is looking around and specifically looking at like the 49ers and saying like, look at what a quarterback on a rookie contract, and obviously
Oh,
Justin
yeah, right,
Herbert, obviously the last few years where again they're on rookie contracts, so you can go out and,
And this
go
is
get
a
a ton
contract
of.
year for Fields as well.
but it's been the
Well, he's gone now.
It's been
but
the
yeah.
one thing that Chicago has never had. The best quarterback in that entire franchise is Jay Cutler.
I was just gonna say yeah,
Like
Jay
that.
Cutler.
So if finally, I think they're waving the red flag, and they're like, "Hey, we're done trying to get franchise quarterbacks
Rex
because
Grossman did take him to a Super Bowl.
Well, I mean
though.
they're not though. They just traded one away
I'll
for
take
the
Jay
first
over
pick.
Rex."
I
Sorry,
will too, but yeah. But you're saying
They are still trying to get that franchise go. They just traded their last attempt for the first overall pick.
Well,
Like,
no, but
this
that's
is
right.
literally
I'm-
them saying we failed. Let's do it
right?
again.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know what I mean? But they are trying to get more people around him finally.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's the rookie contract more side of it. Just like
That's
looking
why
for,
I mentioned he was
Yeah.
on a contract
Yeah,
year.
looking
Like, get
for the
rid of
cheap-
him, try a
Oh,
different
okay.
guy.
Just
that's
look
paid
for the
same.
cheap. Like you're not looking. I don't think you're expecting for Caleb Williams to have a top 10 quarterback year. I don't even think. You know what I mean?
You're
So
just
it's like-
paying him the same though. At the end of the day, you're just
Yeah.
extending that contract on
Exactly.
Trying someone
So,
else.
I mean, they're like, hey, screw it. We don't really want to. So we don't need a superstar quarterback. All these other teams, Brock Purdy, they're going deep without a superstar quarterback. So we're just going to pay the quarterback nothing
I'll tell
and
you-
load up everywhere else.
I'll tell you what though, if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm really liking what they're trying.
Chicago's
to give
putting
me.
down. Yeah,
I'm really liking what they're trying to build around me. You know they're committed now. You know what I mean?
I hope he's confident
they got
because if
Swift, too.
if
So-
he had my confidence level in him, he'd be nervous because he'd be like, "Oh, there's nowhere else to point the fingers. We've got DJ Moore, we've got
Keenan
Allen,
Swift,
The running game
Cole
looked pretty
Kmet.
good last year at times. We got Cole Kmet. We got Swift. I guess there's only one place left to point the finger, and it's going to be at the rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. At the end of the day, look as their track record goes with QB treatment, it was going to be his fault no matter what.
Agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where I still think the upside on Fields is so high because that's where he was playing was Chicago.
Yeah. And that's the thing I do too, is that's why he's such good eye candy right now, because in a combine type of atmosphere, in a preseason type of atmosphere, in like a training camp type of atmosphere,
All of
he
the
looks
tangibles.
incredible.
Yeah, all the tangibles on paper are there.
And you also don't know if it's his fault if he's bad.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
he's so appealing, but at least Russ is proven. But I mean, they're all in on Caleb now.
Yep.
They have to be. It's no one's fault.
I just
but
really
it is
want
at the
them
end
to
of the
say
day now.
Jalen Daniels. I really want them to
Well,
get
you
up to
never
the
know.
podium
Could
and
be.
say
Wild.
Jalen. Dude, I think he's a way better quarterback.
That
I
would
think
be
he's way
crazy.
better.
I'm not saying he is or he isn't, but that
I
would
know.
be wild.
I know. Just because like this is I saw a TikTok on it earlier that I don't remember whose it was. But they were like, yeah, this is really the first year in a long time that there hasn't been any controversy. Like usually there's a last minute report coming in that they're still considering their options.
No,
like
yeah.
last year with Fields and Bryce Young, that pick it flip flopped, a couple
Stroud,
Stroud, yeah. But no, like this is the first time in a long time that I feel like, hey, we've had our eyes on this guy. And
probably
this
since
guy
like
for the
Andrew
longest
Luck,
time.
where again,
Yeah, that's true. I think they said that before
that
the
would say, like,
draft.
the
Like they were
last
like, hey,
one. Yeah.
this is our guy.
Caleb had a shot to be a top 10 guy last year. Like, it would have been a low shot, but someone would have somehow talked him into it.
I think my draft stock on him would have been way higher at the end of last year than it was this year. But I mean, he played the cards right, and now he's the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
So
and he's, like you said, being set up for a lot of success.
yeah, I mean,
they're working.
They're
for
trying.
him. We try to not really get too political on here, but Joe, I gotta ask: are you planning on voting next election? And if you are, who's somebody you might be voting for?
Are we
Vice president specifically.
vice president
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
May or may not.
Typically,
be a
how I
guy
look at the
named,
ballots too. I look to see who the vice president is to see who I'm voting for.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, there's a possibility Aaron Rodgers might be running for president or vice president. I'm
Vice
sorry.
president.
Wild thing that I've ever.
Do you have any
heard.
more information on this? Because I have a little bit, but not enough to confidently talk about it.
I don't have a whole lot of more info on this, other than the fact it very smartly seems the Packers moved off of Aaron Rodgers at the right time.
Is it Robert Kennedy Jr.?
Yeah, it's.
I couldn't remember if it was Junior or the third. I don't know how long the
I think it was
ancestry
Robert
tree
Kennedy
we
Yeah,
had
he was
with
running
the
on the
Kennedys.
Independent Bill Party.
Yeah,
believe.
independent.
Yeah, he's running as he's running as a write-in, isn't he? A write-in
Independent.
candidate?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's not
Or
going
all
on. He's
independent
not.
write-ins? I haven't voted yet.
I don't know how it works. man.
He's just not a part of the
but-
Republican or the Democrat.
Yeah.
He's like third party, basically.
Yeah.
Ain't that
I think
something?
he'll still be on all the ballots. Just
Well,
won't
you
be
know what?
Republican.
I'm just saying, man. Throw Rodgers in the darkness for a few days. He'll come out with some solutions.
yeah, jeez.
It's scary. What kind of solutions?
They might not
Stay
be good
tuned.
ones,
Stay tuned.
but they will be solutions. And hey, I already talked about when I mentioned with Omar Khan. I don't need good change. I just want change to be had. Okay, and that was what Omar's given us. And maybe if we get Aaron in there in office, maybe he'll do something crazy.
Make some changes. Yeah.
Someone who wants some change, though, country superstar artist Luke Combs.
Oh
Went on Pat McAfee show last week. Not happy with his resident fandom ownership in the Carolina Panthers. Doesn't know what they're doing, he said. Isn't a fan, doesn't like it. Not happy.
Well, that's
I
what
would be-
happens when your team gets sold and they can't figure out what they're doing either.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he was spot on with just about everything. He pretty much said he didn't like the direction the team was going, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I don't think the team has a clue what direction they're going. They haven't moved. They've been stuck at the bottom of the league for the last 3 years since the ownership's changed. So there hasn't been direction.
Would any of us actually be shocked if these Panthers actually become the worst team in history? Because remember, the Browns and the Lions went 0-16.
Yeah, no,
We now play 17 games.
No.
There is a huge possibility in my mind that they are going to go 0-17.
They
The
very
Browns
well
were
could.
so bad for so long, though. Like Carolina just won a Super Bowl fairly recently, like comparatively to the Browns. You know what I mean? So that's where.
No, did they? Because they lost.
They were in it with Cam Newton.
I don't think they've ever won
lost
one.
to Seattle. Or
But
what
also, that
I
was
could've
under
sworn-
or the
different
Browns.
I
leadership.
could have sworn they
Or
won.
Broncos,
Under
Broncos.
different leadership, absolutely.
So they could become. I mean, the Browns, they had to start being the worst in the league at one point. This could
Yeah.
be the beginning of the Panthers. I mean, they had 3 wins in 2 seasons, 4 wins.
Yeah, no,
Something
seriously,
like that.
like it's been, and like you said, they make that trade with the Giants and get rid of like their best defensive end. They make a trade with your Steelers, getting rid of, like you said, a captain corner. I mean, what kind of leadership are you going to have in there? It's all going to be inexperienced young people.
Panthers have now won a Super Bowl.
And I think the biggest issue is what Tom mentioned. He said Luke Combs said a lot of the things he agreed with. I think the biggest issue with this is the fan base really echoed his sentiment.
Yeah.
I mean, he said he misses the old days. He misses what they used to be, not what they're becoming, because he primarily doesn't understand what they're becoming.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with
And that's not, it's not good when your fan base doesn't like it, but when somebody of his stature and his popularity is calling you out on someone's stage like Pat McAfee on a live show in the middle of the day on ESPN, that is not
And
a
all
good
of your
look.
fan base is like, yeah, what he said.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that he said. Explain, please. And they've got zero explanation. There's nothing to explain.
And you mentioned they might become the worst in league history, and you threw out the Browns as being another really bad team historically.
So bad for so long.
Who else do you think rivals? Who else do you think they either rival now or could rival in the recent coming years?
Well, obviously, like I also mentioned, Detroit as well for a long time was bad as well. They were the first ones to ever go 0-16. The Browns were the second. I mean, it just, like I said, I just look at that team and it's just like, okay, they have Adam Thielen, who's old wide receiver. According to Mikey, just traded for Deontay Johnson, who, by all account, like is not a good culture guy. He's not a good culture guy.
Yeah, he's not a very good culture guy, and he's not that good. He's not bad, but he's not that good.
And it's just like, so who is Bryce Young going to be throwing to? And again, there's no leaders on that team. I mean, they're like basically
Didn't they push Burns too? Brian Burns?
Yeah, he went to Did
Did you say that earlier, Tom?
No.
the Giants? Or,
Yeah, the Giants have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I said
okay.
best defensive end.
him and Thibodeau, right, are going to be on opposite sides now.
Yes. Yeah, the Giants.
And who's your middle? We talked about him. Dexter?
Yes, Dexter Lawrence, and they got a linebacker too in free agent. They made a lot of what seemed to be insignificance, but I mean it's all just been line moves. We signed like 4 offensive linemen, I think, too.
Oh, that's
like,
so smart.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just been no skill players other than Drew Lock. Drew Lock was the quarterback we signed, so we got ourselves a backup, brother. Yeah,
so
look at your
and
quarterback. Look at your quarterback room compared to ours, man.
You got Tommy and Drew?
No, I don't know.
Tommy,
I don't know
right?
if we have Tommy. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know about Tommy.
Practice squad or something?
I mean, but we still have Danny. We got Danny Dimes, Drew Lock.
Dude, if you had
the whitest, nerdiest quarterback room in the entire league.
I was just going to say,
Right
you might
there.
have the only white quarterback.
White exclusive quarterback
Yeah.
room. Mm-hmm. That's the
But
Giants.
honestly, if you have Danny Dimes, Drew Lock, and Tommy DeVito, that is like just what a crew. What a crew of 3 internet sensations. Everybody loves Drew Lock for when he was with the Broncos and he sang to that song.
Drew Lock's the black guy of the locker room.
Yeah.
He's the black guy in that QB room.
true.
Like it is 100% Drew Lock if it's one of the 3 of them.
Yeah, you got the Italian, the white dude, and the black white guy.
Just that video of Drew Lock vibing on the sideline there.
He murdered that song too. Like he killed it, man. It was so good.
My answer for you though on what team I think could be up in the worst, I think it's got to be in any of these teams that are mid-organization flips where a piece of me doesn't think it's going to be the Commanders just because Magic Johnson has a whole hand in the organization now, but.
Yeah, when you got Magic in the name.
New England isn't switching ownership, but you've got a new coach that is replacing Bill Belichick, who was your entire front office.
Plus, they're bad now, but they were the best for 20 years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's where I think it could be. There could be farther to fall for that team now that Bill's gone.
Oh,
we don't know what so that I think it's going to be one of those teams that are having a big overhaul, whether it be at the coaching position or the front office.
Yeah,
position.
I mean more historically.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking just historically overall bad
actually,
teams?
I would say historically the
Historically, I
Redskins
think you got to go Browns.
Commanders
Yeah.
have
The Browns
been-
were awful.
No, we're saying he mentioned the Browns. Other than teams mentioned. Well, do we even what other teams?
The Jags were pretty bad for a long time.
Jags are a good one. Jags
Tampa
are a good
Bay
one.
was pretty bad.
I've
way
just
back
How long have
when.
the
list of
Jags
the
been
teams.
around?
I
Wasn't
don't
that
know.
like early 90s?
I want to almost say like 2000.
So, but I remember they had a Hail Mary from Gerard, I think, that snapped a pretty long losing streak for the organization. I would put the Bears up there too,
95.
just because the Bears,
95.
while not always having been terrible, they always underachieve.
Yeah.
Like the Bears just always seem
No, the
to
Bears is a
underachieve.
good one.
Well, Bears.
But I mean,
if we're
I
talking
put it-
strictly, like, because I know you said historic, and that's a
Yeah,
thing.
that's where,
Before
like-
Super Bowls were invented, they
Well,
had a lot
I guess
of
I
wins.
don't. I guess I don't mean historically as in like the entire existence of the franchise, but
Well,
like
long stretches,
Like
yeah.
the Lions, they had a 30-year run. The Browns, and you could argue we're in the middle of a 30-year
Yeah.
run. So teams like that, and you don't even really have to keep it to the NFL. You could even mention teams.
Give me the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, that's a good
Give
one.
me the Arizona Cardinals. I don't.
You know-
What after Kyler?
That's a great one too, because I'm pretty sure the only Super Bowl they went to was the one
Kurt.
they lost to the Steelers in.
Yep.
And that's the
Kurt.
exact same thing as the Panthers. Yeah, I think that's a good one actually. They could be mirroring the Arizona Cardinals. Anything else, boys?
Do we have any winners and losers for the?
True, yeah. Any winners in
Obviously, I said, I think Carolina's a huge loser.
Mhm.
No one is attracted to go to that destination. Can't really say the Cowboys are winners or losers. They just didn't do anything. So I'm just kind of would say that they're just a meh team. If you want to say they've lost, they didn't really do anything for them to lose. But I would say those two are like my two losers.
I agree with your losers. I like those. What about winners, Yanni?
No, everybody loses. The Giants didn't do much, so I didn't pay attention to a whole lot because it was just.
I would definitely say the Steelers were winners. I think the Packers were winners. Actually, I think all three of our teams were actually winners. I mean,
Yeah, our teams
you
had
got
pretty
the
good
best
wins.
defensive
Yeah,
end. Like,
the
you
Giants,
made
like
moves.
I said, there were moves. They're just not big name.
Chicago,
moves.
obviously winners.
Yeah, you could
The
argue
Chicago one, what are they on the hook for in terms of Keenan's contract?
Like
Like,
the whole thing.
The whole
That's
thing,
just
yeah.
where like I don't. It's the one piece that I didn't understand is I know Keenan came off a really good year last year, and you're pairing him with DJ Moore.
Yep.
But now you're going to be putting him with a rookie quarterback, and
Yeah. And
why
he's
are we
always-
going to pay a guy a crap ton to have a
But-
guy that we're really not expecting to be
Because
anything? That
we
is
already
rookie year?
saw what Keenan Allen can do with a rookie quarterback.
True.
He was Justin Herbert's.
True.
That's why a lot of people think like Herbert developed and really like held on to that starting position. Unfortunately for Tyrod Taylor, when he got a punctured lung, was because Keenan Allen was there to be a safety blanket. So they again look at it's like, hey, that was only like 5 years ago. He's still around, and like you said, coming off
See,
his
I
best
credited-
year.
I wouldn't.
I
have
put
done
more
it.
of that towards Austin Eckler, and when I looked at that year, because when he just was the ultimate safety blanket when you look at checkdowns, you know what
So
I mean?
you
Your
don't
check
think
down.
you don't think the Bears were a winner?
Well, they got DeAndre Swift.
I think the
They can do
Bears-
checkdowns.
Just because I know what they're setting up for, I don't want to say they're a winner because I think they're going to draft the wrong guy.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I
And you
mean?
think they're a winner?
I think they're a winner.
I like their moves. Like, yeah, they got something for Fields. For a
Yeah.
while, I didn't think they were going to get anything
Yeah.
for Fields. So I liked what they were able to do, but I
I think they
still
could've
think they're
done-
going to make the wrong move.
Yeah, I think they could have done a lot of their moves a little bit better. I think they put their feet on a lot of stuff. Like it took them forever to push Justin Fields. Like your negotiations got to be terrible if it takes you a month.
No
to
one
get
wanted
4 and
Justin
a
Fields,
6.
dude.
Yeah.
No one wanted
Yeah.
him because they knew they were that. That's what I mean. Everyone in the league knew they were that desperate to get rid of him because they were so set on Caleb that no one was going to speak up and be like, "Hey, we'll
So-
give you everything that you want for him," because they knew they wanted to get rid of him.
wanted
Supply
a
and
lot,
demand.
too. So you have like 4 teams that you would put down. You'd be comfortable putting down as winners.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair. I'd probably put.
What did Denver do? What did Denver do to replace Russ? What are they
Nothing
doing?
yet.
Nothing.
They haven't done
So
anything.
they're a loser. They didn't really.
Yeah.
I'm cool with the losers and winners you threw out, Joe. I like them a lot.
Go Pack, go.
Yeah. We can wrap it up with that. That's all the time we have for this week's Talkin Athletics. As always, I'm your host, Mike Papa, joined by my 2 beautiful, mysteriously, incredibly awesome co-hosts,
We're lying.
Tom and Joe, as always. They make
Killing
up
our
2/3
reputation.
of the magnificent trio that is MTJ. Just 3 guys in a basement that love talking about sports. Don't claim to know everything, but we often claim to know more than each other. Thanks for stopping by. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let everybody know about us. Maybe, they want to come and tell us we don't know what we're talking about. Kind of like you probably enjoy, at least thinking it. But anyways, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Talkin Athletics.